Welcome back everyone, it's time to go balls deep! Luffy's devil fruit is now confirmed to be a legendary Zoan fruit. Yes, all this time, Luffy didn't have the Gomu no Mi, rather it was the Hito Hito no Mi all along, model Nika. However, I'm here to tell you that this revelation was set in stone for much longer than we all think. In fact, Oda's been giving us clues to this from the very beginning. There's so much more importance to Luffy's devil fruit in regards to the One Piece story. We are going to answer questions like who Sun God Nika is, why the government is scared of this fruit, why Shanks had to steal it, to the mysteries behind the events of Joyboy and the Void Century. But most importantly, guys, we are going to break down how Dr. Vegapunk has been wanting to recreate this very devil fruit to learn more about the essence of what devil fruits actually are.
Who?
Wait, what? You don't know who Dr. Vegapunk is? The genius scientist who created Momonosuke's devil fruit?
Who?
Come on, the same guy who figured out how to merge devil fruits with inanimate objects?
Look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Okay, seriously, you guys taking a piss now? You don't need to stop.
Shut your stupid.
Okay, so first let's talk about the name of Luffy's devil fruit, Hito Hito no Mi model Nika. Like the other variants of the Hito Hito no Mi, the user is able to transform into a human or person of that said variant. With Chopper, he was a reindeer who ate the base Hito Hito no Mi, giving him the ability to transform into a human-like form and anything that's in between. The human that Chopper transforms into is quite generic. However, with Sengoku, he ate the Hito Hito no Mi model Daibutsu, which is a mythical Zoan fruit. Because Daibutsu is a mythical being and personality, with this fruit, Sengoku is able to transform into Daibutsu himself, which is a giant gold Buddha. Likewise with Onimaru, who is a Komagatsune fox. He ate the Hito Hito no Mi mythical model Onyudo. This gave the fox the ability to literally transform into a large monk yokai. This all brings us back to Luffy, who like the others can transform into its said variant, which is the mythical figure Sun God Nika. However, all along, due to Nika giving its user a body made of rubber, Luffy wasn't aware of what he really possessed. And since he's pretty dense, along with being told by Shanks that he ate the Gomu no Mi, Luffy fell into a false pretense and believed rubber was all there was to his fruits, whilst only subconsciously using the creativity his fruit gives. The thing is, there is a misconception that a person knows the name of his fruits once they eat it. However, that's not true. We were told by Kaku during Eni's lobby that we can figure out the name of a fruit by the power it gives, but that kind of power we get is completely up to chance. So the name itself is eluded by the user only after they figure out the power, meaning Gomu no Mi is not entirely wrong, as it's still a fruit that grants the user a body made of rubber. But again, that doesn't take anything away from the fact that this fruit actually grants the user the full power of Sun God Nika. This brings us to who is Nika. Well, Nika was first mentioned by Who's Who in his fight against Jinbei in chapter 1018. We learned that Nika was a brave, generous figure who was a friend to the slaves according to the legends heard by Who's Who. Nika was believed to come for the slaves one day, freeing them from their cruel lords and bringing smiles on their faces. Who's Who had heard this legend of Nika from a god when he was imprisoned under Mary Joa for failing to deliver Luffy's Nika fruit to the world government. After hearing about the legend, Who's Who began praying for Nika in the hopes of alleviating his own pain. When the same jail guard abruptly disappeared from duty, Who's Who feared that the legend was not meant to be spread and that the world government had done something to that god. He then chose to flee in order to avoid a potentially worse sentence for knowing too much. Who's Who's story about the god tells us that just hearing someone say anything about Nika could get you killed. The government is that fearful of just a name. Honestly, this kind of makes sense, as in the past, when Fisher Tiger was adventuring onto the sea, he was captured and sent to Mary Joa as a slave. Luckily, he managed to escape and return to Fishman Island. However, he was sad that all the other slaves were still tortured and being humiliated. So he climbed the red line with his bare hands and attacked Mary Joa, freeing his fellow fellow slaves from the celestial dragons. Even with his race as a fishman, he did not discriminate against the human slave and freed everyone, bringing smiles to their faces. And then he does something more interesting. He decides to change the mark of a slave into a sun. Since he was now hunted by the government as well, he created the Sun Pirates in chapter 621. Right after this, he also had a chat with Arlong and Jinbei, telling them that their ultimate goal was freeing the oppressed, not becoming cold-hearted killers. You guys see the connection here, right? Fisher Tiger becoming a slave at Marijoa just like Who's Who, and he then goes out striving for the same goals as what Nika stood for, liberating the oppressed. Plus, he decided to call the Sun Pirates the freaking Sun Pirates, like the sun god Nika. Come on, it's very likely that Fisher Tiger during his time in captivity must have learned of the legend of sun god Nika and was inspired to take action and become a liberator to the people. That's how powerful this legend is, especially to people who have been driven to their absolute limit of suffering. Even a world government CP9 agent started praying to Nika just to elevate his own suffering. You only need a tiny spark for the flames of revolution to ignite. However, even with the world government's effort to extinguish everything about the sun god Nika, the people have not forgotten the true freedom Nika would promise with his smile. If you go back to Skypiea in chapter 267, Muse or Mouse, however you pronounce her name, basically a member of the ancient Shandia tribe who lived 400 years ago, once said that after her sacrifice, she would be content and happy when she meets the sun god. One of the many titles given to the snake Kashigami by the Shandians was the god of sun, which means the legend of the real sun god was filtered down in time, words and information being lost in translation, but the title was still present and was a larger part of the Shandians legend, likely it being out of the world's government jurisdiction, along with speculated to be part of the ancient kingdom where Joyboy, the user of the Nika fruit, reigned. Now, during the bonfire party at the end of the arc, Viper also has a reaction shot when he sees Luffy dancing similar to the myth of the sun god Nika, and Luffy just fulfilled that legend by liberating Skypiea by literally being a direct counter to the false god Eneru, who took total control over the people's lives, restricting their freedom. Luffy even rang the bell of Jaya, being the sound of liberation, much like his own Gear 5th activates the drum of liberation with his own heart beating in such manner. There are so many parallels and symbolism Oda thought of, I can't even go into it in this video, otherwise it might be 1 hour long. But again, if you want me to cover it, let me know in the comment section below, smash the like button, get this video over 20,000 likes. Anyways, similarly we see this affinity to a sun-like deity to free people in other parts of the One Piece world too. Otahime, the late queen of Fishman Island, adored the sun and regularly used it as a symbol of what the fishmen and the merfolk needed to achieve. To embrace the sun was to achieve liberation. Even in Elbaf, we see the winter solstice festival where the giants celebrates the death and rebirth of the sun. They were literally talking about Nika, who represents the dawn of the sun, guys. Throughout the story, the sun is always seen as the symbol for freedom and unification, liberation. This is all because we all live under the one same sun, which brings us light and joy. I can go talk about some anime bullshit science into the science behind the sun, the vitamin D and all the happiness and stuff during depression, but you know, that ain't no time for that, guys. The mythical figure Nika is the personification of this. Much like light, Nika has the power to bend and stretch very far. Nika gives light and joy and makes everyone happy. However, this very figure also correlates with another great legend, who is Joyboy. Yes guys, Joyboy also possessed the Hito Hito no Mi Nika model, which was alluded by Zunisha himself after he heard the drums of liberation that Luffy gave off once he activated Gear 5th. However, as I mentioned in the past, Joyboy was betrayed by his friend and a member of his crew, Imu D. Judas. Yes, I made that name up, but not much is known about Imu-sama, so Imu D. Judas is fitting, as I believe that the D's are the descendants of Joyboy's crew, and Imu is definitely a Judas that betrayed his friend for power. Imu-sama then obtained the power of immortality via the Ope no Mi user and then controlled the world from the shadows. The allied kingdom at that time gave him the throne because he won the war against the ancient kingdom and Joyboy. I believe the only way he was able to win was out of betrayal and obviously using tricks like manipulating Zunisha. I don't believe Zunisha's punishment is because he done something intentional. It was more than likely due to a mistake of being tricked. Regardless, jealous after Joyboy's downfall. He realized he wouldn't be able to complete his mission to unify the world and spread laughter and happiness, giving true freedom by destroying the barriers the world has. So he left his story in Laugh Tale. I wouldn't be surprised if he managed to make Laugh Tale a Looney Tune paradise island. Like, let's not forget that we saw in the latest chapter 1043 how Luffy can literally turn things into cartoons and even stretch out his surroundings according to his imagination. With this ability fully mastered, he could even change the literal landscape of the world. During his time, Joyboy along with the other ancient weapons had the power to change the world, and if the red line was present, he could have just manipulated it with his fruit awakening after enhancing his power. All in all, he would have achieved all blue, granted everyone the means to unify under one sun. But now this brings us to the prophecy of how the freedom Joyboy envisioned would reign over the world. You see, even without devil fruits, there is an unseen power in the One Piece universe, likely linked with Haki. We covered this in detail in a separate video, so make sure you guys are checking that out. And make sure you have that notification bell dinged so you don't miss out on future theories, just like some of you guys did when we predicted everything with our day prediction Haki last week. But in a nutshell, throughout time there is this twisted fate that is shouldered amongst the people of the world, either due to lineage or just randomness. The fate given in a sense is the only factor which is set in stone, and there are those who have the power to read the fate of others and the future. Madam Shirley Sharky, whatever her name is, was amongst these people, along with the person who gave the prophecy to the Sea Kings. The Sea Kings who Roger and Odin encountered spoke a prophecy which came to pass of their sovereigns, who we know to be Shirahoshi, meeting Luffy, who we know now to be the Joyboy of this era. We also know that Joyboy knew about the future to some degree and left that information in Laugh Tale. Likewise with Toki, she also foretold a prophecy and warning. Though she used her own abilities to send Momo and the gang to the future, she foretold what would happen in 20 years. The time frame she chose to send the gang was intentional, as she knew that the person whom everyone was waiting for was going to be 20 years from their current time. Toki also left things to fate, believing in an unwoven chain of destiny. But with that in mind, throughout the story of One Piece, the idea of a reincarnation of Joyboy to come was shared amongst various people who had their own source of information. For example, we have Kaido and King, who knew of Joyboy and even believed Kaido to be a candidate. Through this, we can tell that the information they had wasn't specific like the Sea King's prophecy. Regardless of where this information came from, we know that other people outside of Roger's crew knew about Joyboy and sun god Nika. And obviously, if we go with our theory of Imu-sama being immortal and a member of Joyboy's crew, being a betrayer, and then Imu would also know. Likewise, so did Shanks. Yes, red-haired Shanks knew about the secrets behind the Gomu Gomu no Mi. That's why he targeted it and stole it from the government. Shanks, knowing the importance of this fruit has on the world, believed if the world government got their hands on it, then there would never be true balance and peace. Shanks must have learnt everything from Rayleigh. And we know that Shanks did not seek to be the Pirate King, rather he took the route of a mediator for a reason. It was because he wanted to honor Roger's will and wait for, the prophesied child.
No. Wait. Wait.
I know a lot of you guys don't like the idea that Luffy became a prophesized child, something special, and all this yada yada yada. But come on guys, he's a protagonist. We kind of had to expect that happening. Luffy from the get-go was kind of special. His brother was the son of the last Pirate King. He himself is the son of one of the most dangerous men alive. He's the grandson of Garp. The man who inspired him to become a pirate is the legendary Yonko Shanks. I don't know what anyone's on. There's no such thing as Luffy's controlling his own fate and destiny. Of course he does have some control, but everything around him was predestined. I don't want to go into this now, but come on, don't be complaining now.
Oh, wow.
But with all that moves us to one more person who I believe knew about Joyboy and his devil fruit from the very beginning. In fact, this person, when learnt about Joyboy's fruit, believed it would unlock the answers to devil fruits and what they really are. This person is none other than Dr. Vegapunk. Now, I'm pretty burnt out and out of game of subs, guys, so I'm going to pass it on to my wise Captain Sid, who's going to explain exactly why Dr. Vegapunk's information is so important and how he will be the key to unravel the mystery chemistry behind the devil fruits.
Okay, thank you, Yusuf. I just drank a whole cup of gamer sup, so I am ready for this. Okay, so as Yusuf said, Vegapunk likely knows about Joyboy and the Nika fruit, but this understanding is not that unknown. And in fact, Oda had been sprinkling hints throughout this series. I'm talking about the fact that Dr. Vegapunk is deeply connected with Luffy's HITO HITO no Mi model Nika, along with Dr. Vegapunk being the means for us, the audience, to learn the origins of the devil fruits. Even though we all expect that information to be given to us in Laugh Tale, in an SBS, Oda specifically mentioned that a certain professor will make his appearance in the story and explain exactly what devil fruits really are. This professor is none other than Dr. Vegapunk, and the reason he knows what devil fruits are is due to his years-long research. But this brings us to the famous panel of Vegapunk's blueprint for merging devil fruits with inanimate objects. In this panel, we are shown the HITO HITO no Mi Luffy 8 being merged with a missile, and the end result was a gorilla equipped with rockets. We already explained the importance of the ape and how this fruit is affiliated to the Monkey King Wukong and Hanuman from Hinduism. But the more important point was the fact that Luffy's fruit was able to merge at all. This is because zone type fruits are special in a way, where they hold the essence of its said creature. In chapter 1044, the 5 elders pointed out that this type of fruit has a will of its own, which makes a lot of sense considering when they are merged with non-living things. It comes alive. Its life is not from the object but from the fruit itself. This brings the question on how life became a fruit, which reincarnates constantly. Vegapunk studied the properties of humans whilst he was with Mad and understood how to manipulate the lineage factor of a person. He also learned how the devil fruit could be manipulated in the same way. In turn, he was able to create artificial fruits, as we see with Momonosuke's replica of Kaido's fruit. But we believe that Dr. Vegapunk was given a mission by Imu-sama to create the Nika model fruit so they could give the red line the property that it could never be destroyed. Now this connects to our all blue theory, which I'm not gonna bore you guys with. Yusuf has been saying that for years now. Go check out this video on screen if you want to know more why breaking the red line is so important in the One Piece world. And another thing that tells us that Vegapunk knew about Luffy's fruit is how Kaido and Caesar were making the smile fruits. Being an assistant of Vegapunk, Caesar Clown used his research and blueprints to create the smile fruit. Vegapunk likely was trying to create the Nika fruit, which is said to bring smiles and laughter to everyone who consumes it. Thus, why Kaido was being used as an experiment subject, because Kaido thought he was Joyboy, and even in chapter 10,043, he says how Luffy isn't the only one who can stretch like that, then imitates Luffy's Snake Man. So there's a possibility that the world government and Vegapunk just thought that Kaido had consumed the mythical zone type that they were looking for. Okay, so they basically didn't know what the fruit actually was. As the Gorosei says, the name was hidden for centuries. They probably saw Kaido running around telling everyone he's Joyboy, and they were like, okay, he's close enough, and proceeded to use his lineage factor to create the fruit Momonosuke ate. Because it is quite odd that Vegapunk, after successfully recreating Kaido's fruit, discarded it thinking it was a failure. But later in the manga, we see that when Momonosuke becomes an adult, Momo's power is essentially kind of equal to Kaido's, where he can create the clouds and make the island float instead of Kaido when Kaido is defeated by Luffy. A bigger clue is even the fact that when people eat a smile fruit, there is a chance that they won't get the power of animals but can't stop laughing and smiling. Vegapunk, knowing the legend of Nika and likely Joyboy, understood the fruit had to make people smile and laugh, similar to Luffy laughing uncontrollably in the latest chapter. It seems way too bait, but this link of smile fruits to Luffy's fruit and basically all the devil fruits has given us a huge hint to what devil fruits actually are. So get this video to 30,000 likes and we will explain it to you all in the coming weeks. Now, we know why the HITO HITO no Mi model Nika is so important to the world government, but it's also sought out by many other leading world powers, like Kaido, for example, as I mentioned earlier. He wanted to be the liberator. He wanted to be Joyboy, likely due to the expectations from his peers. That is why he has been collecting a whole crew of zone type users, getting Caesar to create zone type smile fruits, and keeps recruiting new generation pirates with potential, trying to find Joyboy. That is why in chapter 1015, when Luffy got beaten up and Kaido threw him into the sea, he exclaimed, "You weren't Joyboy either, Straw Hat." Similarly, Kaido also wants to die. From the very moment we see him jump from the sky, Sky Island. He is searching for Joyboy and to free the world from the tortures of the government where they captured him and experimented on him in Punk Hazard to gain power. Big Mom also wants to be the king of the seas, with her creating Totoland, where there is no racism and is a paradise for freedom, except the caveat of them providing Big Mom with parts of their souls and to deal with her hunger pangs. Even Blackbeard wants to create a country where pirates can roam free, but the light from their eyes have gone out. Just like Fisher Tiger wanting to liberate the oppressed but not willing to take human blood, their ideals are flawed. It's as if they all have a piece of the Joyboy puzzle but lack the entire piece. This also relates to the poneglyph each Yonko has, where if they just came together, then they could just reach Laugh Tale and see the entire truth. If you like this video about devil fruits, then check out this video displayed to you on screen right now, where us and bunch of other One Piece YouTubers like Ohara, Grand Line Review, Tekking, we all discuss our favorite devil fruits, or I guess the strongest devil fruits in our mind. So go check it out.